Do you think this is going to be fun? I hope the hat is an indicator to you that it is going to be fun. That's what the intention of the hat was. So that you go, fun! I'm having fun. Hi, I'm Leaf. This is the first video, so thanks for coming. We're going to play a game today. First part is I come up with some genre combination, some aesthetics. Part 2 is I'll do a color grade in Davinci Resolve. And we'll see how close I can get. So there's a genre I've been thinking about for a while that I'm interested in, the idea of the post-apocalypse. You know, like the post-apocalypse happens, it's nasty, it's scary, but then things die down. And people are left with some hope, but also a lot of residual trauma, because they just went through the apocalypse. So that's going to be the first color grade. Here's the clip we are grading today, and here are the settings. My color grading is a 4-step process. Step 1, color correction. Step 2, global adjustments. Step 3, local adjustments. And step 4, some flare. Sometimes it's actual flares, and then sometimes it's some different effects. You'll see. I basically use the primary wheels to color correct it. So you see on our waveform, I basically tried to make the shadows all white as much as I could, and luckily I shot in a cinetone, so the colors straight out of camera were looking pretty good. Next, I did some of my major exposure changes. So I brightened it up, more contrast, then I did white balance. It's green warm, which I felt really kind of fit the vibe of the post-apocalypse. Then I did my base color. So this dealt with saturation, but also some of the movement in the color wheels. And I'm getting just slight differences. For the base color, it's still a little kind of white and neutral, but after the base color, kind of added some greens into the shadows, added some magentas into the gamma, and then added some greens into the gain, and some like yellow actually into the gain. And I'm liking the look. Then I used the HSL curves. The HSL curves are really useful because they can shift each hue, they can change the saturation of each hue, and they can change the brightness of each hue. Here's before and after. The luma curves are similar, and they deal with the kind of relationship between the luminance and the saturation. Here's before and after. So I used a power window to change the grass. So here is what the power window essentially was covering. It's kind of feathered to the top and pretty solid at the front. And then that, as you can see, before and after. I really wanted for this look to kind of add kind of a richness to the greens, kind of a richness to the oranges as well, but still the right type of desaturation for the image. Then what I did is I made a second mask, and this mask was over me as the subject. But what I did is I inverted that mask so that what I wanted to do is I wanted to draw focus to me, but instead of like artificially making myself more light, I wanted to make the rest of the background darker. Before and after. As you can see, we're 8 nodes in. This is the before. This is the after. Then I used a qualifier for the shovel because I thought the shovel was way too bright. So the qualifier essentially picked the color. I also used a power window to get the orange color just in that region. Then I did qualifiers in a power window for the red leaves. The red leaves are pretty bright. And then I kind of darkened them, made them a little bit more towards the yellow. This band around the wood pole is very bright and kind of distracting. So I kind of made that into a darker green. Now we're on the final row. I changed the skin. I kind of focused on just the skin tones. I made it brighter. And I also made it kind of more yellowish green and a little bit more desaturated, I feel. I added lens reflections. Because right now they're pretty subtle. But if you turn them off, it's very kind of clean. And it just adds a little bit of, softening. Kind of like a little bit of light going through. It really kind of changes the mood. I used halation, which just causes a little bit of glow. You can see it on the hat. A little bit of glow on the hat and skin. It's very subtle. And then we added grain. And that's our post-apocalypse. I'm liking it. I got some sadness to it. Got some vibes. It's got vibes, definitely. Here's before. And here's the final look. You made it this far. Congrats. How do you like it? I like it. Oh, the second one's going to be fun. I'm very basic in that I like Spirited Away and I like the aesthetics of Spirited Away. But I can't just do like Spirited Away. I have to do something. I was thinking about this one. Mumblecore, Spirited Away Mumblecore. What does it look like? I don't know. We'll find out. Again, I started with the primaries to get just a base color correction. Then I did exposure. Made this one very bright, a little bit less contrasty, because I plan on later darkening down some areas. We added white balance, made it more green, more warm, because ultimately I felt like Spirited Away has a pretty warm, naturey color palette. I also feel like Mumblecore movies often, they lean on the warm sometimes. Added base color. So the base color is when I really kind of added some of that saturation back, but it's pretty high key. It's for the base color, after the base color. And here's before the first 4 nodes, and then after. You see a big difference in the quality. Then I did the HSL curves. So I really kind of pushed the hues of the greens, and mostly a lot of the yellows are in this image because a lot of the grass is actually registered as yellow. So I pushed that more towards blue. It's almost more like cartoony. Then I added the Luma curves. There's a lot of kind of very soft desaturation here. I feel like the Luma curve just kind of corrected. It adds a little bit more richness, but it also adds a little bit more contrast. And that's the thing about using each of these techniques, is that they each add and correct for one another. So we've got the grass, still made it darker, but kind of kept that strong saturation. And then we have the focus. This focus I decided to do a little bit differently. In the last clip, the focus was just a circle around, but this one I honestly wanted it to seem like there was a ray of light coming from the sky that felt more dramatic. That was essentially done by making the power window a different shape before and after. You can see this area is very much the darkest area when we start the image, but with that correction, I really made it the lightest area. Got the shovel. Orange shovel, still pretty distracting, I find. I made it kind of reddish, fitting with the kind of dream-like color scheme. Now the leaves I made brighter. Honestly, I probably made the leaves too bright. It's a little much. Now I got the wood band, and the wood band, I changed the color to this kind of orange. Now if you go up close, you see that it really falls apart. You don't focus on it. Now we're at the skin. Again, I kind of made it more bright and more desaturated. I added more red into the gamma, some, green into the shadows. For after. This one I did not end up adding the reflections because I wasn't going for the same vintage look, but I did add a glow. It's a pretty minor effect. For after, it just kind of softens everything out. It's not at its full percentage, and I tweaked the settings to get the glow I wanted. I then added the halation. It's a little glow around the highlights. Versus this glow affects on everything. I added a watercolor texture. Now, when you do this effect to its full, it's very extreme, but I turned the blend down to 0.091. If you look at the leaves here, this is before, this is after. It kind of softened little details up in a way that kind of made it remind me of the kind of painted look. So here we have Spirited Away Mumblecore. Third one's going to be really 2 grades. You get a 2 for 1. The first one is going to be like a very clean, modern, maybe sci-fi look. And I want it to fade into like a grainy, old-timey look. And I think that will be interesting. Started with the same primary node, then I did more exposure. This one I wanted high contrast, wanted to really pop out. Then I changed the white balance. Honestly, it's not a very big change. When I'm looking at it now, I can barely tell. Then we got base color, which adds saturation and then adds colors into the different exposures. And the base color made it kind of more blue. So I added a lot of orange in the gamma. I added some blue in the shadows to kind of add to that contrast. Feels more sci-fi to me. Then I added a sharpen. And in order to sharpen, you go into the blur area and then you kind of remove blur. So if I remove the blur here, I'm adding the sharpening. Now we have the HSL curves. It kind of gives the greens a little bit more blue and the yellows more blue. I feel like starts to push it into the sci-fi look. If you look at the skin tones, they're kind of pinkish before they're more muted. Now you have the Luma curves. Boom. This kind of desaturates the greens, makes things brighter and more washed out. I like it. Sometimes you make a change and you like it, and you don't really know why. Color grading is very subjective that way. Same masks as before. I do the grass, made the grass darker, also more contrasty. Added some of the more fine details. Feel like it looks more sharp and serious, and something's gonna happen. I did the same focus. And this one, the mask is a pretty wide circle. Didn't focus directly on me, but wanted to get the general area. Then I changed the shovel, changed it to kind of a blue. The red leaves I really pushed more yellow. I thought the red was really standing out. My initial 7 for after, and then the wood band I made just kind of a gray. We've got skin tones. Boom. This one I tried to normalize it. I felt like it was going too pink, a little too bright, brought it, more to the yellows, starting to look more natural. And if you ever want to check the skin tones, you can go to the vector scope. There's a skin indicator line. And then if you have display qualifier focus on in the 3 dots, you can kind of see where the tones are. And then I added an effect, texture pop. Boom. It's a subtle effect. I can't even tell if I need it. I did Embrose, which I kind of used as another sharpening. The final one was I added this very sci-fi flair. You can control each element. Before, after, really adds to the look. Here we are on our grainy, old-timey grade. Got to start with the primaries. I started this on the last note, which is an effect called film damage. It adds both these kind of old filmy lines, but it also adds a color cast that's pretty pronounced. Changed the exposure, so I did that kind of reduction of the highlights. Changed the white bounds. It's still kind of neutral. The base color really getting that kind of desaturated look, bringing back more vibrance in especially the grass, but also the kind of leaves here. Luma curves. And I feel like we're getting that kind of more contrast and definition from these Luma curves. Now I kind of desaturated the grass. It's still dark. Focus. It's a pretty wide window. The shovel. The red leaves. I felt like this little bit of red was just not in line with the rest of the color scheme. So I made them more yellow. The wood band. Just kind of desaturated it. Started adding the other effects. Grain. Adding 16mm archival. Got a lot of texture. It's pretty noticeable when you look up close. Final one is that subtle halation. On this effect, I think I did it even less subtle. So here's our look. Before, after. Old-timey. Now let's talk about how we've combined these looks. Now we have our 2 looks. We've got our sci-fi look, and then we've got our grainy old-timey look. And the question is, how do you have one fade into one? Here's how I do it. Put old-timey on top of the clean and modern. You look at the playhead and you kind of try to find out where you want the effect to start. So I like kind of after the first head tilt. We can say up until then, we can have it all be the clean modern looks. In the toolbar tabs, go to the composite, and next to opacity, you hit the keyframe. This creates a keyframe, which is how you control the animation. So we're essentially animating how opaque the footage is. Because we want to start with the clean and modern, we go to 0. So that's where it animates. What we want now is it to slowly fade in. We don't want it to be completely grainy. And I think kind of right before I get up and leave, when we really settle into the grain. So now, what I can do is I can raise it. We have 2 keyframes now. First one, it's all clear. The second one, it's all grainy. All modern, this frame, all grainy at this one. Now, if you want to make this effect smoother, and then for the first one, you can right-click on the keyframe and press ease in. Other one, you can right-click and hit ease out. And now we have our clean, modern sci-fi look, and it blends in to the grainy, old-timey look. Thank you for being here. I'm not going to tell you to subscribe. I'm not going to do that. You know.